It is a real honor to have such an amazing panel here today about the very exciting topic, which I actually would like to break down in some subtopics. Like, is collaboration a potential opportunity for retail? But I would like to discuss this in 4 topics. One is like, understand the evolving changes across the retail sectors, then understand the aspirations, especially of the young consumers, which I think we are all knowing this is changing a bit to, I would say, all of us a bit from the older ages here. And then might collaboration be an opportunity? And last but not least, how can retailers balancing economic growth and cultural dynamics as culture, heritage, tradition is becoming more and more important? And now looking in the first session about the evolving changes, I would like to first address the question how the consumer evolved over time and what are the different target groups now. And Your Royal Highness, Prince Waleed, I would like to address the first question to you. As a CEO of multiple companies, you're sitting in various business groups, the restaurant and coffee group, the fashion, beauty, and luxury group. You run a very exciting NGO where you try to bridge the gap between private and public sector and bring them closer together, so collaboration at the end, at the core. Now, from this perspective across industries, how do you see the consumers changing? And later on also, what impact does that have on the retailers?
Thank you. Continue sharing. Well, good morning, everyone. And I would like to thank the organizer for the opportunity. And I'm having a pleasure being in the panel with esteemed leaders. As you know, during the past, I would say, 3 to 5 years, there have been noticeable changes in the sector, in the retail sector in specific, but in the economy in general. And when we focus on the consumer, the changes that we've noticed, and I'm sure you know that already, is when the dynamics and the demographics that impacted the economy, when the unemployment rate, we have a lot of Saudis in the market working. The main difference that we've noticed is the female entering the work environment as well. And as you know, the target to achieve by 2030 was 30% female at the workplace. Last year, it was achieved. The new target, as you know, for next year is the 5% unemployment. So we're seeing more disposable income from working individuals. This is a positive addition to the economy. However, on the flip side, we've seen that the disposable income decreased in the past 3 years. Not only that, because due to inflation, rising costs, and so on, but the impact of the VAT, we haven't noticed it at the beginning, but we've seen the impact in the last 3 years, plus the financing or the loans for the individual increased double or threefold, actually, especially with the government pushing for housing ownership. So there's a lot of financing went there. Plus, we've seen the fintech coming into the market, so people or individuals are buying on credit almost everything. And that you might noticed previously on the day of salary coming out, there's a season of about a week, 10 days of a peak on spending, then it starts, declining. Today, we've seen in many sectors that it's only came to 3 days only instead of 10 days. Because when they get the pay, they pay the loans and so on. Not only that, we've seen the main changes on the spending as well. It used to be limited channels. Today, it's spread on between entertainment, tourism, retail, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, we haven't seen the impact of the increase in tourism. The targets were achieved, the 100 million visit in Saudi, but that did not have a significant impact or a noticeable impact actually in the spending and the retail sector. The other change we've seen in the consumer behavior is the cross-border e-commerce. Buying and receiving goods from international retailer is as simple as buying from local. So we're seeing that a lot of shift on spending is being outward. So, and of course, you know that with the timing of the Riyadh season is impacting or coming in the time where it is the retail season, I would say, and that's having a negative impact. And we have a study that we can share. I think it's in our website that you can see the impact. And we've done an amazing study with our partners in Kearney, and good morning, that you can have access to. If you allow me for 2 more minutes, just to touch based on some of the, another study you've done with Bain & Company. On the purchasing power, we've done a research for about 361 companies in the retail sector. And we've identified the top 3 issues that facing the industry. 61% they saw the first issue in declining sales in the sector is due to purchasing power. Second was the high personal cost. Third, this I did not mention, which is the complexity and cost of regulation. There's, as you know, there's a lot of regulation that came out in the past few years and more to come that is impacting the cost of doing business and the ease of doing business. I talked about the tourism. Another finding was that despite growing demand for fashion and luxury goods in Saudi Arabia, the lack of know-how compared to the European and the American, coupled with the high VAT, is leading Saudi to shop abroad. So the experience, and I think Saudization is impacting the retail sector when it comes to quality of service. So we're facing issues with the upselling, with the quality of service, so loyalty and so on is being impacted. I don't want to take more time, but we found out that the SMEs are more impacted than large companies. We've seen a decline in sales on the last 3 years, and we've seen a noticeable close down on the non-major cities or remote cities. And that's impacting small and impacting scale, economics of scales. I would close with this on the cost of doing business. 3 things that came out: the human resources fees, the municipality licensing, and the taxation that can VAT. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This was very informative and actually took up front a couple of questions I would have had for you later, but I will come back to that anyways. Thank you so much, Prince Waleed. you touched on interesting points like more cost-focused, rising middle class. I mean, there are fundamental changes in the kingdom. Maybe to, please excuse the expression, going now to a dinosaur, Andy. a dinosaur within the retail business.
Well, yes, I hope you're not referring to me personally.
Well, let's discuss that later. No, absolutely not of personal reasons. Andy, you're a very long time with Starbucks Corporation, with Starbucks in the Middle East, with Alshaya. You must have seen a lot of change happening. How do you see the consumer changing in the habits? Because your product is a daily product of joy.
Yes, thank you. So, I mean, 25 years in the region with the Starbucks brand. What I would say in the kingdom, the fastest growing coffee market, second is Morocco, if you're interested. We have more players in this space than ever before, including my friend to the left of me. And when we talk about collaboration, we can get into that then. But what has changed is, who would have thought a few years ago that you would have coffee delivered? Who would think that you would order it on your phone and collect in the store through mobile order and pickup? The consumer has really changed the way they interact, certainly in the coffee space. They want convenience and they want an experience. And there are more and more ways to get that through more and more different coffee shop operators. I combine that as well with there is an expectation from the consumer from brands for values and what they stand for. I'm not going to get into it, but you would all know why I'm referring to that as Starbucks. There are challenges that are faced with what people believe about certain brands. And we have a responsibility to be communicators, to be educators, to be part of the communities we serve in. Who would have thought that? I used to think we just sold coffee. I've become a technologist, I've become an economist, I've become a coffee operator. These are the challenges we face as we move forward to keep going and grow this business. So retail has really, really changed. And I would really sum it up in terms of convenience and experience and the expectation of the consumer from brands.
So much. Not that it was planned that you all sit in the right sequence now, because and thank you, Prince Waleed, you gave me now a new order of my questions a little bit, and with your answers as well, Andy. I would like to address my next question now, jumping a bit already into the understanding the consumer, and you touched again on a point on price. There's experience on one side, but there's also price sensitivity. And that this can be successful business models, we can see with the Brands for Less group. And therefore my question to Jorge on Brands for Less. You as a core have like basically being affordable, for having affordable brands to everyone. Can you tell us a bit more about it and how this is reflecting the new trends of the younger consumers?
Well, I think that one of the key characteristics of the new consumer is value for money. So at the end, while I think that quality will remain to be a priority for all the young customers, they want balance between usability and the price, of course. I think there are many other factors, but I will just give the mic to somebody else. But I think that one important thing is about social responsibility. This is something that we've been talking on the last years, how inclusivity, equity, fair labor practices are really becoming critical. I think more of positive examples, I think that we can think about companies that were on the leading positions that by giving the back to these concepts like Abercrombie, Victoria's Secret, they were trusted by the millennials. So I think this is becoming extremely important. So I think that another very important thing when it comes to global companies that are coming to do business, especially in Saudi, is the local adaptation. So it is extremely important to make sure that we are localizing our strategies. And I think that authenticity, because sometimes we forget, we underestimate the customer, or we overestimate our companies, and we need to walk the talk, especially in this area of social media, of rapid communication, and at the end, sharing all the process, not only on the marketing, but on the production part, I think is becoming crucial too.
Okay, thank you. On the localization part, now I will change again my sequence a bit because we have a new speaker, a guest speaker here on the stage. Hello, Nabila Nazar. She is founder of an impressive fashion brand since 2007. You are one of the ambassadors of the Saudi 100 brands. And this is a topic very at my heart. I was introduced with my socks. I love fashion. I grew up with a textile company, so happy to have you here. And I would like to take straight away the opportunity to address a question to you. We were talking about the changing consumer a little bit, and we heard about experience is important, but it's also price is becoming more and more important. And then there is one topic, it's about culture and identity. You have a fashion brand, which is basically living culture, heritage through fashion. Can you tell us more about that, and how do you see that reflecting in the new consumer here in the kingdom?
Hi, first of all, thank you for having me here. So let me talk about this topic. Maybe we can start that consumer now are changing. The behaviors are changing. We have now a big generation, this generation coming, Gen Z, they are changing the way of thinking, the way of buying. For example, now they are aiming more for sustainability and for ethically product, and they want to engage with the brand. So they don't buy like anything they see. They want stories, they want something to engage with their culture, now because, you know, the last maybe 5 years, we have a lot of governmental things going on, like, you know, the seasons and everything. So I think now, especially the Saudi customer, are more aware of you know, the Saudi product. He likes to hear the made in Saudi. He wants to engage with the designer, with the craftsmanship. You know, they want to see something that can give back to the community for the culture and culture-wise, and also for to help the environment and the sustainability and everything. So from this topic, because it's a new generation and new thinking, and they are buying maybe now more wisely. They pay in the right product. So if it's made in Saudi, they want to know how it's made, and they know the value of this product.
Okay. And picking up on this, I would like to hear also Miles' perspective. Miles is I don't want to use the word dinosaur again, a very senior expert in the region since 30 years in the business, throughout in fashion lifestyle expert in different CEO positions, and now CEO of a Saudi company with two brands, a furnishing brand and also a fashion brand. How do you tackle this? Because culture and tradition is at your core of your brands.
Yeah, thank you. I don't mind being referred to as a dinosaur. I've been in the region for over 30 years now, and for the 25 of those, I was bringing international brands into the marketplace. And I think with the rise of globalization, these international brands are a lot more accessible than they've ever been. But what we're really seeing now is that the real point of difference are brands that can actually really connect with their consumers in the local marketplace. And I completely agree with your comments earlier. And the USP that we've got is that we are one of the few Saudi brands that are trading toe-to-toe against the international brands here. Our point of difference is we understand the consumer entirely, and we develop our range for the consumer in Saudi Arabia, whereas a lot of international brands have to target an international market, and they may, if they're capable enough, adapt slightly for our marketplace. So we understand the importance of Ramadan, we understand the importance of Eid, we understand the concept of mummy and me, which is where you buy product for the mother and the daughter and they coordinate. All of these are possible because our creative direction comes from a Saudi. They understand the Saudi market, and we are constantly doing market research to understand our consumer. We're constantly talking to the local people to understand exactly what it is they want, and we're capable of being able to deliver that. And I think that's our unique selling point compared to the international brands that I previously brought into the market. And you know, they have success here because they tailor to a particular need as well. But as I say, we can actually really adapt our product, our concepts, our service, our connection with the local marketplace.
Okay. And one key word you mentioned is understand the purchasing decision. That brings me to Nerai. You're Group CEO of Apparel Group, one of the largest groups in the region, also focus fashion lifestyle. Since 25 years with the group. How do you see the purchasing decisions changing of the consumer, and how do you react as a retailer on it, with also mainly international brands? You have also your private label, which you're growing massively. Would be great to get your perspective.
Thank you. And Miles, I completely agree with you on this one, right? And we do the same with our homegrown private label, which is R&B. So it's curated, it's designed.
Just opened the 29th store. You're growing at the
No, it's a much bigger number. It's 150 stores now.
Okay.
In the region as well as India. And when you go the same concept in India, you will see the design completely different, right? So it's curated, designed, and made for the consumer in place. That's very super critical for us. Even in the international brands that we do, we see what we can do. So a lot of the brands, we take certain percentage as a licensing rights that we can do in terms of, like AlSaud does a phenomenal job on Arabic sandals. Another thing that we do, especially during Ramadan, is curating special capsules with a lot of the brands and also signing up with the local celebrities. The celebrities that the consumer group or consumer segment connects with it. And that's very well which connects with the community. So we try to be part of the community. We also do a lot of the marketing and local shoots, which are here. And AlSaud did one of the shoots with a Bahraini airport engineer, and that went viral, and they started releasing it everywhere in the globe. So these are all the things that you need to care. Last but not the least, personalization and customization. Two big themes, I would say, for the consumer today. I give you a small example. Crocs, a brand that we do, they have these gibbets or charms that you use on that clogs. That is today 24% of our business. 5 years back, it was 0. Similarly, in Levi's, we have this denim doctor in the Dubai Mall store. The amount of customization and personalization business, phenomenal. So these are some of the new trends with the younger consumers. And not to say sustainability, circularity, yes it is, but the consumer is not willing to pay the price today. We do the same with F5 Global, that was our initiative. Consumer appreciates, he wants to have it, but he's not willing to pay the price for it. But this will change. Thank you.
Thank you for these insights. Yes, absolutely. And I think when we all look else into our own purchasing experience, we probably all like when it's a bit customized, but affordable to an extent, as fashion is also changing a lot and very quick. You mentioned an interesting point, community, because I believe this is also something very important to build on across in F&B, in fashion. Saudi 100 Brands is an example of the community. We have these business groups which are supporting together. And I would like to address my question to Dr. Tamim, and he told me it's okay if I call him the doctor, because he's actually a medical doctor and CEO of multiple companies, but also of Reefi, which is basically, and you please tell us more about it, a brand on homeware, which is an umbrella of a couple of brands, but living up by a community, and especially via social selling. But what we heard before, can you give us more insights of that and how you do it different than maybe the colleagues left and right of you?
Sure, thank you for having me. Actually, I will tell you our secret. Two company is the, let's say, holding company of like 10 brands, usually every 6 brand as an average. A new brand is born under 2 company. One of them is Reefi, Label, and Awa, and others. So usually we start with the latent need, like a local latent need people don't serve, like big company cannot serve. Cannot or won't serve it because it's a very small segment. Usually big companies think of like mass, how we increase the sales like by like huge percentage. But when it's come to small startups, we usually start with the consumer behavior. We start to dig deep and to understand how customer is thinking. And this is how we differentiate our like brands, local brands, than the international one. A story about Rifi start as a local brand. Last year, we sold more than 10 million pieces of Rifi brand, like a bathrobe and bath towels. And we start with like kind of observation. Why people are using not good fabric for bathrobe and bath towels. So if you think about this, young entrepreneurs usually start with like big ambitions, start to solve every problem in the market, but this is not right. The right way of doing this is like to find just one problem, just one very small segment, and start with this. Big company will not look at the small segment because they want the bigger one. For you, as a young entrepreneur, you start with this. If you succeed, and hopefully you will, you start like penetrate to another segment, and you do this with the same brand or different brands. So in Rifi, we find this segment, big home like company will not serve the home robe and home towels because it's not very big. But as a Rifi brand, young local brand, we start with the ambition to serve this very small segment. But now it's not very small because Rifi is the leader in like the home robe, bathrobes, and we become a leader in this small segment, and now we are entering a new ones. The same thing is with different brands. For example, Awa is a mattress company. So mattress is like a very red ocean market, but when you do a benchmark between Saudi and, for example, US, UK, Australia, and different countries, you find that people are ordering mattresses online, but not in Saudi. Saudi, you have this like of you have to go to the big stores and you try different mattresses for like 10 minutes, and you decide to pay like 10,000 riyal or 5,000 riyal, and this investment will stay for 10 years of something you try for 10 minutes. This is like a gap in the how you decide on a mattress in 10 minutes. So we take this problem, it's like a very latent problem. You cannot find, it's not, if you ask people, they will not tell you about it, but you have to observe, question, and network to fight this latent problem. So we establish Awa to solve this problem. So we tell people, take the mattress, order it online, try it for 100 days. If you didn't like it, just return it. 100% of your money will go back, guaranteed. So finding the latent problem, or we call it pain point, finding a very small segment as a start, questioning, networking, and observation is the key to find the problem. If you find the right problem, it will be very easier for you to establish a brand or a product. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you actually made me feel bad. Mattress, I wanted to try that since a long time, actually, because sleep is very important. And I think we all might or should be doing that. Now, my last question to the changing consumer retail sector and younger aspiration goes back to our experience when we actually don't order online, when we go in a mall, and comes now to understand the data, have the technology, and bringing experiences together. My question to Sadiq, CEO of Pathfinder and founder of Retail GPT, which is you can tell us more about it, solution especially for shopping malls to basically give a customer experience across different brands, across the mall, and experience it better to hopefully cover everything what we heard before from the other panelists.
Thank you for having me here. We have spoken the changing consumers' requirements today, personalization, but the problem is the consumer today is so spoiled for a diverse opportunity. He's got so many choices. Only technology can solve this problem. The hyper-personalization is a unique requirement. We are talking today personalization of a community, of a personalization of a certain segment of a city or a country. But what is actually required is hyper-personalization of an individual. How do we know what this particular individual likes? What is his requirement? What is his predictability? So AI is going to play a big role in this, especially into hyper-personalization, and that rolls up into the brands to understand what segment of the community would look for what kind of a product or what kind of a trend. So AI is going to be a game-changing element here, which is going to interface the changing needs of the consumers, reflect it to the retailers to adopt it, and then bring those changes in their offerings. So, and the number two, the biggest element which is super important is the blended experience of physical and digital channels. So phygital commerce is going to be the new future because the recognition of the same consumer while he's buying online and when he steps into the store as is the same guy with his behavior and offering him personalized merchandise or what he wants, because the customer is super smart today. He's got all his options available. He's got value, he's got choice, he is looking for opportunity. Who's going to promote what and where do I shift? There's nothing like loyalty per se. You know, it's about gratification, where he's privileged. So the more you privilege, you make the customers feel special, and that's what is going to attract stickiness with the brand, with the merchandise itself, and the repeat footfall of the same consumer digitally and physically measured, and how that can be transformed into growth for a retailer and for the consumer in the form of recognition, rewards, and everything that we spoke about, put together, hyper-personalized. That's what is the need today, and that's what technology can offer.
Thank you for that. You mentioned a seamless journey, physical and online. That is for me also collaboration in a shopping mall, especially. We have different brands, we have the mall itself, we have different brands, we have from F&B, fashion, everything. And we need to collaborate. And that's I think it's a critical question somehow, because we want to collaborate, but we're also all in competition together. Therefore, I would like to get your opinion, Prince Waleed, because you have the overview across all sectors. You see a lot, you bring players together, private players together, with the public together. How do you see the topic of collaboration, and can that be an opportunity for retailers? And if yes, what needs to happen?
Definitely. I think globally, as you know, sectors or companies in the sector, they do collaborate, either through retail associations or different form of organization. They share data even in high-level format, but the industry is more knowledgeable, I would say, due to their collaboration. But I think in Saudi, collaboration is more needed than anywhere else, and especially on this time, because what's happening, as you know, and due to Vision 2030, strategies are changed. There is a transformation happening in all sectors. Therefore, there are so many policies that are being updated or created. And the public sector is seeking to engage the private sector in all channels. However, the engagement when it comes from the public sector is very high. When it comes from the private sector is very low. And we cover different sectors. We have the F&B, we have the real estate, we have limited retail community, and I keep forgetting the fourth one. But and logistics and tourism. I think there is something missing in the sector, and I'm not sure if it's the coming session or the session after. I'll be talking in detail why it's important for you to come together and collaborate. If you want to drive the industry, if you want to create the future of the industry, you need to come together. The public sector want to hear from you as an industry, not as companies. But until now, the level of collaboration among the industry is way below expectation. And I'll explain further in the coming session.
Thank you so much. And we have some minutes left, but I would like to give taking what you just said, one final question addressing to all panelists. And that is actually about this role, how we can increase collaboration, and how can the government support the private sector in collaborating, in growing, in achieving their strategic agendas and the ease of doing business. And maybe let's go from my far left, from Nabila, throughout the row, up to you, Prince Waleed, with the question, how can government initiatives or regulations, policies better support the retail industry to grow and to collaborate?
So from my personal experience, since I started a long time ago, I think that now regulations and everything is much easier. You see, it's maybe it's a lot of things to do, but it's much easier. It's easier for us as a small brands to go to the market and have everything in hand, especially now with these programs from the Ministry of Culture and the Fashion Commission. I think that's a very good opportunities for young designers to start with, and to have like a guide or map to move on and to succeed and enter the Saudi market.
Okay, so dedicated programs, and in this case, especially for fashion luxury.
Yes, dedicated programs, because they do a lot. It's not only a program, it's like a minute, it's one-to-one, one-to-one with each designer, and they're tailoring the program for each designer, for startups and for the experienced designers to see their needs, to see what they can offer them to be an international brand and to showcase the collections also outside of Saudi.
Thank you. Sadiq, you talked a lot about AI and technology. In that perspective, probably there's also a lot to do. What needs to happen? How can the government support?
I would answer this in two parts. I'll have two parts questions to this. One is, if you look at on a global scale, the largest contributor for revenue in retail is the local homegrown brands. Okay, and if the government can promote extensively the homegrown brands and give them the wings to compete internationally by having center of excellence, giving them the right support, and enabling them on technology as well to stand at par, because local brands understand the local culture even better than anybody else. So I think government support on that segment to homegrown brands would be key to the growth of the retail as an economy, the contribution itself. Number two is the adoption of technology itself. I can't stop without talking about technology. So the future of technology with Gen AI and all the aspects, getting the enablement of technology into the retail ecosystem and incentivizing the industry with their performances could be key metric in understanding how the changes can be seen.
Okay, so also selecting and supporting digital use cases for the retail industry and provide them to everyone so that the entire economy can grow. Thank you. Miles, you're also with local brand just doing expansion internationally. So is there anything the government can be supportive?
No, I tend to agree with the previous two speakers particularly. I think one of the key objectives is we have to stimulate spend in Saudi Arabia. So we have to come up with some initiatives to make it easier for us to trade. One of the very obvious ones, I know it's a bit contentious, is that obviously the VAT rate in Saudi is significantly different from Dubai. and we're seeing consumers traveling to Dubai to spend and then bringing it back into Saudi Arabia and getting the VAT back at the airports. That means they can get almost a 15% reduction in price in Dubai versus Saudi Arabia. That puts us on the back foot immediately. The other thing, and it's a tiny detail, but we want to be more flexible and dynamic with our pricing. And particularly in Saudi Arabia, you have to apply for sale permissions. You can only boost sales during particular periods of time. So for me, it would be able to still have legislation to protect the consumer, as they do in a lot of Western markets, but to allow greater freedom to be able to do better promotions, do gifts, do a lot more than we currently are able to do because of the restrictions in legislation. That would allow us then to take the ownership ourselves to stimulate business. Okay. I think that's really important.
Being able to more flexible, more agile with regards especially to pricing. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Doctor, you did an interesting program, has nothing directly to do with retail, but you want to achieve a healthier society, and you have a program for blood donations where you standardize processes and to reach out to consumers. Is maybe there, with regards to education, something that the government can support the retail industry better?
Yeah, well, I started Wateen app back in 2017, and now it is the official blood donation app sponsored by Ministry of Health. So 50% of the blood donation happening in Saudi is coming through Wateen app. And we are talking about like almost 300,000 blood bags or blood donation every year. And this is like very huge when it's come to saving people's lives. What we understand and we learn from the blood donation and the medical perspective of things and how to apply that to retail, that Wateen app and Reefy and the other brands, local brands, needs to go global because we have something to show. I think make it very easier to local brands to go internationally. That will do a lot for Saudi and for Saudi brands because we have a lot to show. And I think that's kind of like part of the 2030 initiative to take these very strong, very good built brand from Saudi to the world.
Thank you. And this globalization, bringing Saudi to the world, Nirai, CNN just wrote that Apparel Group is conquering the world. So bringing it to the world, what support is further required, and also maybe bringing all the brands together also from a collaboration perspective?
Yeah. So just like Miles mentioned on the VAT standardization, I would also say means a level playing field between the e-commerce and the offline space. And when I say e-commerce, largely it's the international e-commerce players who have got much relaxed norms vis-a-vis the local players who have Saudization norms and other norms as well in terms of taxes and fees. So that's definitely one which should be addressed and which I think so the government is working on. The second thing I would say would be considering retail as a strong industry and to have a separate business group like a retail business group under the auspices of a chamber or the Ministry of Economy. So that would help to voice the concerns of the retail fraternity as a whole rather than a particular group. And this will cover small and medium enterprises as well as the local brands as well. So that would be my second. And the third and the last would be in continuation of the same of considering this as a major industry to establish a retail university where people are trained, groomed, and consider this as a serious profession. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Looking at it from an entire ecosystem perspective and support the entire value chain and all the players involved. Thanks. Jorge, collaboration is part of you because you help basically selling or source and sell many brands. Which is your business model. But outside of that, you have an immense growth, especially in KSA. What support do you need to grow even faster?
Well, I think that I can only subscribe by all my colleagues were saying because I think that is, we are sharing the same situation of thoughts. I think that the government is helping us big time with HRDF funds, and there are many AI investments, infrastructures. I think we are all enjoying easier customs than years ago flow. So at the end, I think that things are moving really forward. I will just add to leverage on this 2030 vision that I think is really well appointed in terms of entertainment and tourism. I will put retail on the equation and try to leverage between these three key industries.
Thank you. Andy.
So it's hard to go last when everyone said everything you want to say, but what I would say is vocational training, number one. And you mentioned about the retail industry, with now over 50% of our workforce being nationals and 50% of that 50% being female in the workforce. For a lot of them, it's entering the workplace for the first time. And it can be daunting, it can be challenging, and I think support and help to prepare people for the workplace. You mentioned HRDF, great, we have some good partnerships there. How can we do more and to have the retail business seen as a serious and lasting career for people in the future? So I think the more we can do to focus on developing talent is where I would really ask for support. I would agree with some of the regulation has got much better. Gone are the days of us really waiting for licenses forever and ever, but we can always get better and work together to improve that. And I would say being able to stimulate the support services to our industry, manufacturing in particular, the amount of goods we still have to import, huge opportunity. How can we bring some of those businesses to the kingdom to help support? In our industry, you know, cups, syrups, milk, we do locally source, lots of things like that. Huge opportunity that I think we could have help with.
A very, very interesting point, to look at, again, from an ecosystem perspective, what can we do ourselves? How can we support the different steps in the value chain, in the entire ecosystem? And also maybe one personal perspective on this. I come from Europe, and probably it was mentioned before also, how is the retail industry in Saudi Arabia promoted also outside to make it attractive? Maybe that is also a point to look at. But with that, Prince Waleed, closing words to you. Same question, and as a closing of our amazing session.
Thank you. I had a meeting, a visit to the National Retail Association in the US, and they were celebrating their 101 anniversary. And I asked the CEO what is his top 3 priorities. And he said it's been the same, is the same, and continues same. Number 1 is advocacy. Number 2 is advocacy. Number 3 is advocacy. So policies are changing. Businesses, technologies, and so on are evolving. What we expect or we want from the public sector is to bring the level of engagement with the private sector, the retail sector, to a level where the private sector can lead on the development of the strategies, policies, processes, and so on, the government. But again, and I will not get tired of repeating myself, this will not happen unless you come together. I'll give you an example. Just one example of the real estate development sector. They came together. Today, they are co-creating more than 20 policies that is not yet published to the public. They are engaging in forming it. They know it's coming, and the predictability in the industry is clear, investment is clear, but it depended on them coming together. So again, the government can be influenced. Promotions and so on, licensing can be owned by the association, so it won't be the government issuing. There's a lot, the university, the training, a lot can happen and led by you, actually. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was very insightful, great session. Thank you again. The start was also very agile, I like that. So let's make an agile end. Thank you so much, and applause for all the panelists. Prince Waleed, Andy, Jorge, Nirai, the doctor, Miles, Sadiq, and Nabila. Thank you so much. and have a good day.